The mining vessel Horizon drifted slowly through the Kuiper Belt. Its large drills and collection chambers were quiet. The ship's lights cast a soft glow against the dark emptiness of space. Inside the bridge, Captain Lisa Morgan stared at the screen showing strange readings from a nearby asteroid. "What do you make of it, Natalie?" Lisa asked, turning to her science officer. Natalie Palmer adjusted her glasses and frowned at her tablet. "I've never seen anything like it, Captain. The energy signature doesn't match any known mineral." Lisa drummed her fingers on the arm of her chair. Company rules were clear. Stick to the planned route. Don't waste fuel on side trips. But Lisa had been in space long enough to trust her gut. "Plot a course to the source," she ordered. "I want to check it out." The Horizon's engines hummed to life as the ship changed direction. Several crew members exchanged worried glances. Their bonus pay depended on meeting quotas, and this detour would cost them time. "Captain, with all due respect, we're already behind schedule," said First Officer Paul Jenkins. "Noted," Lisa replied simply. She wasn't going to explain herself. Not yet. 3 hours later, the Horizon positioned itself near a large rocky asteroid. Close-up scans revealed something embedded in the rock, something that definitely wasn't natural. "I want a closer look," Lisa announced. "Alan, Natalie, suit up. We're going out there." Chief Engineer Alan Reeves looked up from his console, surprise written across his face. "Out there? Are you sure that's wise?" "No," Lisa admitted with a small smile. "But I'm sure it's necessary." 20 minutes later, the three of them floated toward the asteroid in their bulky spacesuits. Their helmet lights illuminated the rough surface as they approached what was clearly an artificial structure. "My God," Alan whispered. "It's a ship." The object was partially buried in the asteroid, its dark metal hull covered in space dust. It was roughly the size of a small airplane, with an unusual oval shape and no visible windows. "It's not human," Natalie said, her voice filled with awe. "The design is like nothing in our records." Lisa moved closer, carefully touching the surface. "How long has it been here?" Natalie consulted her handheld scanner. "Based on the radiation decay and impact patterns, at least 15,000 years. Alen whistled. 15,000 years. That's before human civilization. They found what appeared to be an entrance, a rectangular indentation in the hull. Alan managed to force it open using their mining tools. Inside, their lights revealed a cramped space with control panels covered in strange symbols. "We need to document everything," Lisa ordered, her heart racing. "Take samples only if you're absolutely sure it won't damage anything." For the next 2 hours, they carefully recorded everything they found. The ship contained no remains of its crew, but the technology was clearly far beyond human capabilities. The materials, the design, the power system that somehow still retained a faint energy signature after thousands of years. It was all impossible by Earth standards. When they returned to the Horizon, Lisa immediately sent a secure message to Earth. Within minutes, her screen lit up with a response from United Earth Space Command. "Secure DH site. Research team en route. Highest priority." 6 days later, a fleet of UESC vessels arrived. Scientists, military personnel, and government officials swarmed the site. The mining vessel and its crew were debriefed and sworn to secrecy, though rumors had already begun to spread. Lisa watched from the observation deck as the research ships surrounded the alien vessel. She couldn't explain the feeling of dread that settled in her stomach. "What do you think they'll do with it?" Alan asked, standing beside her. Lisa stared at the distant lights of the research vessels. "Study it, I hope. Learn from it. And if it's dangerous?" She turned to look at him, her expression serious. "Everything powerful is dangerous, Alan. The question is, who's using it?" Neither of them spoke the obvious truth. Humanity had just changed forever, and they had no idea if it was for better or worse. 6 months passed since the discovery of the alien wreck. The United Earth Space Command had built a research station around the asteroid. They named it Waypoint. The station buzzed with activity as scientists worked day and night to understand the alien technology. Dr. Greg Winters led the research team. He was a tall man with tired eyes and a passion for discovery. Commander Olivia Benson provided military oversight. She walked the station halls with a stiff posture, always watching, always alert. "We've made another breakthrough," Greg said, pointing to a strange device on the lab table. The object glowed with a soft blue light. "This appears to be their approach to energy manipulation. It doesn't follow any laws of physics we understand." Olivia frowned. "Is it dangerous?" "Everything unknown is potentially dangerous," Greg replied. "But this could change humanity forever. Imagine energy that doesn't deplete, power systems that can run for thousands of years." In another section of the station, a team of engineers carefully removed panels from the alien ship. Deep inside the wreck, something stirred. A small light blinked on after thousands of years of darkness. The humans didn't notice the change. The emergency beacon began to send its signal into deep space. Days turned into weeks. The research continued. Greg's team made remarkable progress mapping the alien systems. They learned the ship belonged to a species they called the Ardani, based on symbols found throughout the vessel. They were running from something, Greg told Olivia during their weekly meeting. "The ship's logs suggest they were escaping." "From what?" Olivia asked. Greg shrugged. "We don't know yet, but they were afraid." Far across the galaxy, the signal reached its destination. The Vraxian Imperium picked up the ancient distress call. Their communication officers couldn't believe what they were hearing. An Ardani signal? Impossible. They were eliminated millennia ago, said Fleet Commander Kraz to his superior. High Commander Dravok leaned forward in his command chair. His scaled skin reflected the light of nearby screens. "Send a scout fleet immediately. If Ardani technology exists, it must be secured or destroyed." Back at Waypoint, the research team remained unaware of the danger approaching. Greg worked late into the night shift, trying to decode a new section of the alien database. "I think I've got something," he told his assistant, a young scientist named Peter Walsh. "These look like weapon schematics." Peter's eyes widened as he studied the holographic display. That kind of power output shouldn't be possible. The station's alarm suddenly blared to life. Red emergency lights flashed in every corridor. "Unidentified vessels approaching." A voice announced over the speakers. "All personnel to emergency stations." Olivia rushed to the command center. The radar showed 3 ships heading directly toward Waypoint. They moved faster than any human vessel could travel. "Try to establish communication," she ordered. The communications officer sent message after message, but received no response. The unknown ships continued their approach. "They're charging weapons," someone shouted. Olivia grabbed the station-wide comm. "All personnel evacuate immediately." "This is not a drill." Greg was still in the lab when he heard the announcement. He quickly downloaded as much data as he could onto a portable drive, then ran for the escape pods. The first blast hit Waypoint before most people could reach safety. The station shook violently. Walls cracked and air hissed out into the vacuum of space. Greg helped Peter into an escape pod. As the door sealed, he saw 3 sleek, arrow-shaped vessels through the station's viewport. They fired again. The blast tore through Waypoint's main section. Only 7 escape pods launched successfully. Greg watched through the small window as the research station broke apart. The mysterious ships continued firing until nothing remained but floating debris. The alien wreck, still partially embedded in its asteroid, was captured by a beam from the largest ship. It disappeared into a cargo hold. As the escape pod raced toward Earth, Greg clutched the data drive. "They came for the ship," he whispered. "They knew exactly what they were looking for." Earth was about to face a threat it wasn't ready for. The escape pods reached Earth 2 weeks after the attack. Their arrival caused panic across the planet. News of the alien attack spread quickly. Government leaders gathered at the United Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva. Admiral Frank Carter stood before the assembled officials. His weathered face showed the strain of sleepless nights. On the large screen behind him, images of the approaching Vraxian fleet appeared. "They will reach the edge of our solar system in 3 days," he said, his voice steady despite the fear he felt. "We have detected 27 ships in their attack force." The room fell silent. Humanity had built a respectable space fleet over the years, but nothing prepared for this kind of threat. "What do we know about their weapons?" asked the president of the United North American Alliance. "Not enough," Frank admitted. "Based on the Waypoint attack, their energy weapons are at least 10 times more powerful than ours. Their ships move faster, and their shields appear impenetrable to our current weapons." Dr. Greg Winters sat in the back of the room. The data drive from Waypoint felt heavy in his pocket. He raised his hand, and all eyes turned to him. "There might be a way," he said. "The Ardani technology we were studying could help us. Their approach to energy manipulation was far beyond anything we've developed." A military officer scoffed. "The alien wreck is gone. The enemy took it." "Yes," Greg nodded, "but we still have the data." And one of the survivors, Peter Walsh, memorized key components of their energy systems. The president leaned forward. "How long would it take to develop something useful?" "Too long," Greg admitted, "but there is another option. The data suggests there were other Ardani ships. We found coordinates in their database. There might be more wreckage near Neptune." Frank studied the scientist carefully. "You want us to look for more alien technology while an enemy fleet approaches?" "It's our best hope," Greg insisted. After hours of debate, a plan formed. Earth's military forces would prepare defenses while a small team searched for additional Ardani technology. Dr. Karen Phillips, the leading xenotechnologist, would lead the research effort to turn any findings into usable weapons. 3 days later, the first battle took place near Pluto. 5 Earth ships faced off against 2 Vraxian scouts. The human vessels fired everything they had. Their missiles and energy beams splashed harmlessly against the alien shields. The Vraxian ships returned fire. 3 Earth ships were destroyed in seconds. The remaining 2 barely escaped. Similar reports came in from across the solar system. Human weapons were useless against the advanced alien technology. Military outposts fell one by one. The Vraxian fleet moved steadily toward Earth. In a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Karen Phillips worked with the surviving scientists from Waypoint. They pored over the Ardani data, searching for anything that could help. "The key is here," Karen said, pointing to a complex diagram. "The Ardani didn't just use energy. They folded space itself to amplify power." Peter Walsh nodded excitedly. "That's what I saw in their engine room." The containment system created tiny folds in reality. Meanwhile, Frank Carter received increasingly desperate reports from the front lines. Neptune's defense station had fallen. The mining colonies on Saturn's moons were destroyed. Each defeat brought the enemy closer to Earth. In an emergency meeting with military leaders, Frank made a bold decision. "We need to recover components from the Ardani wreck the Vraxians captured. It's our only chance to understand their technology enough to fight back." "That's suicide," someone objected. "Their ships would destroy any approach." Frank's expression hardened. "Then we don't approach as a warship. We send in a small team. A stealth mission to infiltrate and retrieve what we need." He pulled up an image of a stealth vessel, recently developed but never tested in combat. "This is Operation Salvage, our last, best hope." As Earth prepared for war, the search team near Neptune sent an urgent message. They had found something. Another Ardani wreck, smaller but intact. The race to save humanity had begun. The stealth ship Silent Arrow moved through space without lights. Inside, Major Chris Donovan briefed his team. 6 soldiers and 2 scientists listened carefully. They wore black combat suits designed for space operations. "Our mission is simple but dangerous," Chris said. "We get in, grab the Ardani tech, and get out. The Vraxians must not know we were there. Among the team was Lucy Hernandez, a brilliant engineer known for thinking outside the box. She had designed special tools for the mission. Her dark eyes studied the holographic display of the Vraxian ship. "The alien wreck will be in their main cargo hold," Chris continued. "Our scans show minimal guards. They don't expect anyone to be crazy enough to board their ship." "Because it is crazy," muttered Jack Rogers, the weapons specialist. Chris ignored the comment. "We launch in 30 minutes. Check your gear one last time." Lucy approached Chris after the briefing. "Major, I've been studying the Ardani data. I believe their power core is what we need most. If we can extract it intact, Dr. Phillips might be able to reverse engineer it." Chris nodded. "The power core becomes our primary target." The silent arrow approached the Vraxian fleet near Mars. The enemy ships were gathered around a space station they had captured. The stealth technology worked perfectly. No alarms sounded as they maneuvered close to the largest Vraxian vessel. The team donned their spacesuits and prepared for the dangerous spacewalk. They would cross 200 meters of open space to reach an access point on the Vraxian ship. "Oxygen check," Chris ordered. Each team member reported their status. "Remember, we use hand signals only once we're inside," Chris reminded them. "Their internal sensors might pick up our comm signals." They exited the silent arrow in pairs. The vastness of space surrounded them as they carefully moved toward the alien vessel. The Vraxian ship was massive, with a dark purple hull that seemed to absorb light. Lucy led the way to a maintenance hatch she had identified from the scans. Using tools she had designed, she bypassed the security system. The hatch opened silently. Inside, the team moved through narrow corridors. The air was breathable but had a strange smell. They stayed alert, weapons ready. They encountered 2 Vraxian crew members and had to hide in a storage room until the aliens passed. Lucy consulted her device, which translated the alien markings on the walls. She pointed down a corridor, indicating they were close to the cargo hold. The massive doors to the cargo hold required all of Lucy's skill to open. When they finally entered, they saw it, the Ardani wreck, partially dismantled by Vraxian scientists. Several aliens worked around it, taking measurements and removing components. Chris signaled the team to wait for an opening. After 15 minutes, most of the Vraxians left for what appeared to be a meal break. Only 2 remained. The team moved quickly. Jack and another soldier subdued the Vraxians silently. Lucy rushed to the wreck, her eyes wide with excitement. "The power core is still intact," she whispered to Chris. "And look at these markings. These are weapon schematics." Chris glanced at his watch. "We have 20 minutes before our extraction window closes. Grab what you can." Lucy and the other scientist, Dr. Sam Rivera, carefully removed the power core. It was smaller than expected, about the size of a basketball, but incredibly heavy. Other team members collected data drives and smaller components. As they prepared to leave, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor. "They've discovered the unconscious guards," Chris said. "Move, now." The team rushed back the way they came, but found their path blocked by armed Vraxians. They ducked into a side corridor as energy blasts hit the wall behind them. "There's another way," Lucy said, pointing to her map, "but it's longer and passes near their engine room." Chris made a quick decision. "We take that route. Jack, set the charges we brought. If we can't escape cleanly, we'll give them something else to worry about." The team raced through the narrow corridors of the Vraxian ship. The sound of alien voices and heavy footsteps echoed behind them. Jack set explosive charges at key points as they moved. The Ardani power core felt heavier with each step as Lucy and Sam carried it between them. "How much farther?" Chris asked, checking the ammunition in his weapon. Lucy glanced at her device. 2 more sections until we reach the outer hull. There's an emergency escape pod bay we can use to get back to our ship." A group of Vraxian soldiers appeared ahead. Energy blasts filled the corridor with blue light. 2 team members fell immediately. Chris and Jack returned fire, creating enough cover for the others to retreat into a side room. "We're trapped," Sam said, his face pale with fear. Lucy set down the power core and studied the room. It was some kind of laboratory filled with alien equipment. Her eyes lit up when she spotted a familiar design. "This is Ardani tech they've been studying," she said. "Look at these notes. They don't fully understand it." Chris kept his weapon trained on the door. "That's fascinating, but it doesn't help us escape." "Actually, it might," Lucy replied. She quickly connected her device to one of the alien computers. They'd been trying to replicate the Ardani dimensional energy system. More blasts hit the door. It wouldn't hold much longer. "Whatever you're doing, do it faster," Chris urged. Lucy's fingers flew across her device. "I can trigger a power surge in their systems. It should create enough confusion for us to reach the escape pods." Jack finished setting his last explosive. "Ready when you are." Lucy hit a final command. The lights throughout the ship flickered and died. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow. The attack outside the door stopped as confused shouts in the alien language filled the corridor. "Now," Chris ordered. The team burst from the room. In the dim light and confusion, they made it past the Vraxian soldiers. They ran toward the escape pod bay, the precious Ardani core secure in its container. They were nearly there when a massive Vraxian commander blocked their path. He was almost 7 feet tall, with armor that gleamed in the red emergency lights. "Humans," he growled in broken English. "Die now." Chris stepped forward. "Get to the pods," he told the others. "I'll hold him off." But Lucy began. "That's an order," Chris said firmly. "Earth needs what you're carrying more than it needs me." Lucy nodded grimly. She led the remaining team members around the confrontation as Chris engaged the alien commander. The escape pod bay was empty. Lucy quickly prepared one of the alien pods for launch. They loaded the Ardani core and the other stolen technology inside. Jack looked back toward the corridor. "We should wait for the Major." A massive explosion rocked the ship. Jack's charges had detonated. "He's not coming," Lucy said softly. He knew that. The escape pod launched into space. Through the small viewport, they watched as secondary explosions rippled across the Vraxian vessel. The silent arrow rendezvoused with them minutes later, taking them and their precious cargo back to Earth. 3 days later, Lucy stood in Dr. Phillips' laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Ardani power core sat on a special platform, connected to various instruments. "It's remarkable," Karen said, studying the readings. "It doesn't just generate energy, it pulls it from another dimension." Lucy nodded. "The Vraxians copied this technology, but they don't understand the science behind it. They're just users, not innovators." "And what about you?" Karen asked, noting the look of inspiration in Lucy's eyes. "I've been studying the core's construction," Lucy replied. "The Ardani built in limitations, safety protocols to prevent overloading." "Which means?" Lucy smiled. "Which means we could reconfigure it, remove those limitations." The Ardani were cautious. Humans are desperate. Karen's eyes widened as she understood. "You're talking about weaponizing it beyond what even the Ardani intended." "Exactly," Lucy said. "The Vraxians have numbers and technology, but humans have always had one advantage." "What's that?" "We're really good at turning things into weapons," Lucy replied, already sketching a new design on her tablet. The situation on Earth grew worse every day. The Vraxian fleet had pushed past Jupiter's orbit. They destroyed every human outpost they encountered. Millions of colonists from the outer planets fled toward Earth. Emergency shelters filled beyond capacity. Admiral Frank Carter reviewed the latest battle reports in his underground command center. His officers looked exhausted. The screens showed more red than blue, more losses than victories. "We've lost the Saturn defense line," reported his second in command. "Our remaining ships are regrouping at Mars." Frank rubbed his tired eyes. How many ships do we have left? 42 combat-ready vessels. The Vraxians have over 200. A message alert flashed on Frank's screen. It was from Dr. Phillips. His heart raced as he read it. Prototype ready for testing. Results exceed all expectations. Within an hour, Frank stood in the test facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Lucy Hernandez showed him what they had created. It looked like a large cannon, but with pulsing blue energy flowing through transparent tubes along its surface. We call it the Singularity Cannon, Lucy explained. It creates a localized space-time disruption at the target point. In simple terms, Frank asked. Karen Phillips stepped forward. It tears a temporary hole in reality. Anything caught in that hole is destroyed completely. How powerful is it? Frank asked. In our tests, it vaporized a 50-foot thick wall of reinforced tungsten, Lucy said. The energy output is 10 times greater than anything the Vraxians have shown. Frank studied the weapon carefully. Any drawbacks? Lucy hesitated. It's unstable. Each firing causes microscopic fractures in the containment system. We estimate it can be fired 3 to 5 times before complete failure, which would be catastrophic, Karen added. The dimensional energy would be released all at once. Frank made his decision quickly. We'll install it on the Defiance. It's our newest and fastest frigate. 3 days later, the Singularity Cannon was mounted on the frigate Defiance. Captain Ryan Mitchell, a young officer known for his tactical brilliance, was chosen to command the mission. Lucy insisted on joining as the technical expert for the weapon. The Defiance departed Earth with little fanfare. Their mission was too secret to risk any public attention. They joined the human fleet at Mars just as the Vraxian forces arrived. Admiral Carter's voice came through the communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Carter. The Defiance carries our new weapon. Your job is to create a diversion that allows the Defiance to get close to the Vraxian command ship. Ryan studied the tactical display. We'll need to perform a high-risk jump to get within firing range. Can you do it? Lucy asked. Ryan nodded. I didn't get this command by playing it safe. The battle began with a massive volley from the human fleet. The Vraxian ships responded with devastating energy beams that cut through several Earth vessels. In the chaos, the Defiance activated its jump drive, appearing suddenly just 5 miles from the Vraxian command ship. Singularity Cannon ready, Lucy reported from the weapons station. Fire, Ryan ordered. The ship hummed as power flooded into the cannon. A beam of intense blue light shot toward the Vraxian command ship. When it hit, space itself seemed to fold inward. The massive alien vessel crumpled like paper, collapsing into a point of blinding light before disappearing completely. The nearby Vraxian ships faltered in their attack, clearly shocked by what they had witnessed. Target the next largest ship, Ryan commanded. The Singularity Cannon fired again. Another Vraxian vessel vanished. Then a third. The remaining alien ships began to retreat, their formation broken. The human fleet cheered across all communication channels. They had won their first victory against the seemingly invincible enemy. But inside the Defiance, alarms blared. Lucy stared in horror at the readings from the cannon. The containment system is failing much faster than we predicted, she told Ryan. We can't fire it again. Ryan watched the retreating Vraxian fleet. We don't need to. They're running scared. For now. Lucy wasn't celebrating. She had seen the damage reports. The weapon had worked better than they had hoped, but at a terrible cost. The Singularity Cannon was tearing itself apart. News of the victory spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time since the Vraxian attacks began, people allowed themselves to hope. Videos of the Singularity Cannon in action played on screens everywhere. The weapon became a symbol of human resilience. Behind closed doors, the reality was more complex. Lucy Hernandez worked day and night to solve the deterioration problem. The Defiance had returned to Earth for repairs, its cannon unstable and dangerous. We need to understand why it's breaking down so quickly, Lucy told Karen as they examined the damaged weapon. The power core is creating microfractures in the containment field each time it fires. Earth's factories worked at full capacity to build more singularity cannons. 5 more ships were fitted with the weapon, despite Lucy's warnings about its instability. Meanwhile, the Vraxian Imperium reacted to their first defeat. High Commander Dravok faced the Vraxian Council via holographic communication. The humans have weaponized Ardani technology, he reported. They've created something we've never seen before, something the Ardani themselves never used against us. The council leader's scaled face showed rare concern. How is this possible? The humans are a primitive species. They are primitive but clever, Dravok replied. They've modified the Ardani designs, removed the safety limitations the Ardani built into their technology. The fools, hissed another council member. Don't they understand why those limitations existed? Dravok's expression darkened. I've ordered our main battle fleet to Earth, 150 warships. We will crush them before they can build more of these weapons. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter received troubling intelligence. A communications specialist had intercepted and partially translated a Vraxian message. They called our weapon an Ardani world killer, the specialist reported. They seemed surprised that we were able to improve it. Frank frowned. What else did they say? Something about the Ardani civilization being destroyed by their own weapon technology. The translation is unclear, but they seemed afraid. This information reached Lucy as she worked on the stability problem. She dove deeper into the Ardani database recovered from the wreck. Late one night, she found something disturbing. The Ardani didn't limit their weapons because they were cautious, she told Karen the next morning. They limited them because the dimensional energy is inherently unstable. The more you draw, the more it damages the boundary between dimensions. Karen's face paled. Are you saying our weapon's cold? Could potentially tear open a permanent rift in space-time? Lucy finished. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I think that's what happened to the Ardani. They didn't just lose a war with the Vraxians. They destroyed themselves. This revelation reached Captain Ryan Mitchell as he prepared the Defiance for another mission. The Vraxian main fleet had been detected entering the solar system. Earth was establishing a defensive line at Mars with every ship they had, including the 6 vessels equipped with singularity cannons. Ryan sat alone in his quarters, thinking about the weapon on his ship. It had seemed like a miracle, humanity's salvation. Now he wondered if it might be their doom. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Lucy entered, carrying a tablet. I've been working on a modification, she said without preamble. It won't solve the instability completely, but it might allow for controlled, sustainable firing. Ryan studied her design. Will it still be effective against the Vraxians? Less powerful than before, but yes, still effective, Lucy replied. And it won't risk destroying the fabric of reality. Ryan nodded slowly. How long to implement the changes? 48 hours for all 6 ships, if we start now. Ryan activated his communication system. This is Captain Mitchell to Admiral Carter. Request immediate approval for weapon modifications. Priority Alpha. They had just 2 days before the Vraxian main fleet arrived. 2 days to decide whether humanity would risk everything for victory, or choose a harder path that might save both Earth and reality itself. The human fleet gathered near Mars. 87 ships formed a defensive line against the approaching Vraxian armada. Among them were the 6 vessels equipped with modified singularity cannons. The Defiance led the formation, with Captain Ryan Mitchell in command of the weapon ships. Lucy had worked without rest to implement the safety modifications. The cannons would be less powerful, but could fire repeatedly without risking catastrophic failure. She now stood on the bridge of the Defiance, monitoring the weapon systems. Vraxian fleet approaching, announced the sensor officer. 149 ships detected. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the main screen. All ships, hold position. Weapon ships will fire first. then the main fleet will engage. Good luck." Ryan looked at Lucy. "Is everything ready?" She nodded, though her eyes showed worry. "The modifications are complete, but we've never tested them in actual combat. Today will be our test," Ryan replied. The Vraxian fleet emerged from light speed, a massive wall of warships stretching across the view screen. At their center was an enormous vessel almost twice the size of any other. High Commander Dravuk's flagship. "Weapon ships, prepare to fire," Ryan ordered. The 6 human vessels moved forward, spreading out to target different sections of the Vraxian formation. The Defiance aimed directly at the center. "Singularity cannons charge," Lucy reported. "Ready to fire." "Fire," Ryan commanded. 6 beams of blue energy shot toward the Vraxian fleet. The effects were less dramatic than before. Instead of ships disappearing entirely, the targeted vessels suffered massive damage. Sections of hull tore away. Power systems failed, but the weapons worked as designed, without the dangerous instability. "Cannons recharging," Lucy announced. 60 seconds to next firing sequence. The Vraxian fleet returned fire. Energy blasts tore through several human ships. The space around Mars lit up with explosions and weapons fire. The battle raged for hours. The human fleet fought with desperate courage. The Singularity cannons fired again and again, destroying dozens of Vraxian vessels. But the alien fleet was simply too large. Human ships fell one by one. On the Defiance's bridge, Ryan received the damage reports. Half the human fleet was gone. 3 of the weapon ships had been destroyed. "We can't win this," he said quietly to Lucy. "There are too many of them." Lucy looked up from her console, her face streaked with sweat. "I've been analyzing their attack patterns. They're protecting their flagship at all costs. If we could take it out." Ryan studied the tactical display. The Vraxian flagship remained at the center of their formation, surrounded by layers of defenders. "We would never get close enough," he said. Lucy's eyes lit up with an idea. "What if we removed the safety modifications on just our ship? One final shot at full power. The cannon would destroy itself, and possibly us with it," Ryan replied. "Yes," Lucy said simply, "but it might be enough to break their command structure." Ryan looked around the bridge. His crew waited for his decision. He opened a channel to Admiral Carter and explained the plan. After a long silence, Carter spoke. "Do it. We'll create an opening for you." The remaining human ships gathered for one final, coordinated attack. They punched a narrow corridor through the Vraxian formation, straight toward the flagship. The Defiance accelerated through this gap, taking heavy fire from all sides. Lucy removed the safety protocols from the Singularity cannon. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. "Cannon at full power," she reported. "But the containment system is already failing. We'll get one shot." The Defiance came within range of the Vraxian flagship. On the massive alien vessel's bridge, High Commander Dravuk watched in disbelief as the small human ship approached. "Fire," Ryan ordered. The Singularity cannon unleashed its full power. The beam struck the Vraxian flagship, creating a massive distortion in space. The enormous ship imploded, taking several nearby vessels with it. The bridge of the Defiance shook violently as the cannon tore itself apart. Emergency systems activated automatically. Lucy worked frantically to contain the energies threatening to destroy the ship. Across the battlefield, the Vraxian fleet fell into confusion. Without their commander, their coordinated attack collapsed. Admiral Carter's voice came through the damaged communication system. "Vraxian vessels are breaking formation. Some are retreating." A pause. "Defiance, what's your status?" Ryan looked at Lucy, who had somehow managed to stabilize the cannon's meltdown. She gave him a weary smile and thumbs up. "We're still here, Admiral," Ryan replied. "Damaged but alive." 3 days later, High Commander Dravuk himself arrived at the Mars orbital station under a flag of truce. The Vraxian Empire had never encountered a species that could match their technology, let alone improve upon it. The peace negotiations began with a simple acknowledgement. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not just as survivors, but as equals.